you've touched on people within your business and young people growing up through the business. How do you encourage your employees to stay with you? How do you have active programs to encourage long-term engagement within the business?
Sure. We think a lot about culture. I'll tell you my culture story. I've told this before, but I joined a CEO group. There were 10 CEOs of high-growth companies in Boston that got together once a month, or once a quarter. And I largely joined the CEO group because there was a guy on there named Colin Engel. Does anyone know who Colin Engel is? Colin made the Roomba vacuum cleaner, the robot vacuum cleaner. It's a very successful company, and they were way ahead of us, and they were down the street. And I kind of describe, I have an unusual relationship with Colin Engel. It's a two-word relationship. It's a man crush. And so I remember the first meeting, I sat right next to Colin, and the topic of the day was culture. And this is probably 3 years into HubSpot, and I thought, God, that's a stupid topic. Who the hell wants to talk about culture? What a waste of a day. At least I get to sit next to Colin. And so they were really getting into culture, and I was half paying attention. And at the coffee break, Colin took me aside, and he said, I heard about you, Brian, and I heard you want to build a really big company. I said, well, yeah, like you. And he said, you're never going to do it unless you get this culture thing ironed out. Culture is how people make decisions when you're not in the room. Culture is how you really scale a company. Okay. Sat down, paid attention the rest of the day, and I saw Dharmesh, my co-founder, the next day, and I booked a meeting with him, and I said, we need to talk about culture. He said, culture is a bunch of BS. I don't want a meeting about culture. I said, culture is important. Culture is how people make decisions when you're not in the room. Culture is how you scale. And so he ran with it, and gosh, did he run with it. And he created something that we call our culture code. And our culture code is a PowerPoint deck that describes our culture, describes kind of the relationship between the employees and the company in a lot of detail. And we have a quirky culture. And I would say the way we think about our customers a little bit is we need to build a unique product relative to our competition that delivers a lot of value that will pull a customer in and retain us. The way we think about culture is the same thing. It's a different set of competitors. It's the local companies we compete with, but we want to create a unique culture that adds a lot of value and that will pull our employees in and hopefully retain them. And so we spend a tremendous amount of energy building this culture document. And the culture document has worked. There's been like 4 million views of it on SlideShare. Like it's spread virally online. And most of the new employees read it before they join. And people talk about it a lot. And we outline, what it's like to be a HubSpotter, what's good about it and what's bad about it. HubSpot's not for everyone. It's a quirky place to work. And unless you want to really lean into the future, it can be a very uncomfortable place to work in a lot of ways. And we've had our ups and downs with that. But culture turns out to be really, really key. It's like a great culture is like a magnet that pulls in talented people and keeps them, just like a great product's like a magnet that pulls in great customers and keeps them. It's a very similar idea. Now, the reality of Boston and the reality of London is the supply and demand imbalance of talent Boston is 0%. If you are in tech, there's 0% unemployment. If you can't find a job in tech today, you're probably my brother. He's the only one that I've met that can't find a job. Other than that, everyone is employed. And so the supply and demand is way out of whack. And so unless you're paying really careful attention to your employee value prop, you're going to get smoked. So we compete in Boston with lots and lots of little startups. Increasingly, we compete with Amazon and Google and Facebook for most of our developers. So we're hiring, we're really competing against it. But then we think, you want to work for Amazon, Google, or Facebook? Those are huge monolithic organizations. How do we mold our culture and our value prop to really enable people to come work at HubSpot? And so Our retention rates are good. Here's the strange thing that surprised me is our retention rates before the IPO were X. Now they're about 0.7X. They've improved after the IPO, which surprised me. I thought people would say, oh, it's been a good ride, cash out and move on. But the retention's been really good. We invest a lot in employees. Some people think we invest too much in employees, so our culture budget is ginormous. I'll give you an example of that. Like, one of the things we like to hire are people who are learners, really like to learn new things and lean into the future. And so we've got a very aggressive match. If you want to go back to school or take a course, we'll match up to $7,000 a year. It's a big match that a lot of people take us up on. We do a lot in our culture to try to improve our diversity. So one of the mistakes we didn't talk about, one of the biggest mistakes we made in HubSpot is 49 of our first 50 employees were white. And so you're a black woman coming to an interview with HubSpot, there's just no way. You just look at your interview slate, you're just not going to come to HubSpot. And that's just bad for a million different reasons. But it's bad for business. It's bad for humanity, it's bad for business. So we have worked our tails off to make ourselves an incredibly attractive place for all shapes, sizes, colors, everything. And that has paid off in a big way. I'll give you a stat that I really am proud of. 2 years ago, 49% of our employees were women. Only 20% of our managers were women. You got that? Now it's 49 and 49. I love that stat.
Nice.
And we did a couple clever things to fix that, by the way. One was we implemented something we call a Rooney Rule. And the Rooney Rule is a rule they used in the National Football League. You've heard of the National Football League? All the players are black, all the coaches are white.